guys, how's it going? It's Al. The Super Bowl is finally here. It is Super Bowl week. We are going to take a look at the Draftkings Showdown, where you and 587 of your closest friends are going to be entering lineups to try and win $1 million up top of the $6 million guaranteed Super Bowl LVI millionaire maker this Sunday. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. It's also going to be very difficult for you to get different in this one for a couple of reasons that we're going to talk about once I get to the video part. But it is an exciting game. We have some really great players. Jamar Chase as a rookie in his first Super Bowl. Joe Burrow taking the world by storm. Cooper Kupp, in a normal world, might have been the MVP this season based on how big of a year he had. But we got a lot to talk about. Long way to go. Short time to get there. So let's get to the game. Let's go.
He's a legend.
Every week that we do these showdown videos for these island games, we take a look at who to play, who not to play. Everything is always going to be focused on correlation, but those are normal size tournaments. Now, if you're playing one of the smaller tournaments, if you're a super high roller playing in the $4,444, or if you're playing one of the 100-man tournaments, your lineup is going to look different than if you're attacking the $6 million $15 tournament with, like, look, this is just an obscene number of people. Last year, from some tweets that I had seen, the most duped lineup, you're gonna have duplication. We always talk about that. You're gonna have lineups that get duplicated in this tournament. Last year, the most duplicated lineup in the Super Bowl, like 1.4% of the field was on the exact same lineup. Everything that we do, that's a ridiculous number, by the way. It's like, imagine getting across the finish line, you know, with 4,000, 5,000 different people splitting that lineup. The top 5,000 all split by that many people, that much prize money. So, like, it's not unrealistic to think that you might walk away with this just a few $1,000s if a very common lineup hits. So we've got to talk about how to get different. We're going to also have a problem doing that because these teams don't allow us to really get different. These teams do things a specific way. They go about it, and the Rams are going to play their 3 wide receivers. They're going to play their 1 running back, whoever that's going to be, whoever's healthy the majority of the time. We'll talk about that in just a second. And the Bengals pretty much do the same thing. The Rams don't play 2 tight ends. I know that everybody's saying, well, Blanton did really well last week. Yeah, because Higbee was out. Whoever's healthy is going to play 90+% of the snaps. There's not many opportunities for us to get different in that sub-kicker price range, right? The sub-defense, sub-kicker down in here. P. Ryan and down, there's only a couple of guys, and we're going to talk about them as well. So the first thing that we have to talk about is the quarterbacks. You remember how we've always said that too many people are playing the quarterbacks at captain? And we have 2 quarterbacks here who are very talented and have ceiling possibilities. We've seen Joe Burrow go off a few times this year for 30+ points, 37 against Kansas City, 30 against Baltimore. But these aren't really running quarterbacks, so there are opportunity to get you like a Patrick Mahomes type game, a Lamar Jackson type game, a Josh Allen type game are extremely limited. They have to throw for like 5 touchdown passes. Both of them have that possibility in there. They have to go for like 450 yards too for them to get to that point without adding very much on the ground. So the field always is going to play too many. Now think about that versus field plays too many quarterbacks and captain versus the amount of the time that wins, right? That's the optimal lineup. And then now take into consideration this week with 2.5, 3 times as many runners in the field. Now that number is going to be on so very many lineups that if we're going to build a Stafford lineup at captain, same thing that we always do, we're going to include at least 2 of his pass catchers. I will be including Jefferson. I will not be including the running backs. I will be including Higbee unless he's out. And I will be including Ben Skoranek in that, who last week played 27% of the snaps, even though he is a very low volume target. He only got 1 target that week and no targets either of the other 2 weeks in the playoffs. Like I said, they consolidate everything through the main 4 guys, Jefferson, Beckham, Kupp, and Higbee, in their pass game offense. We're also going to build that bring back group with every offensive player on Cincinnati. I will be including the kicker with that as well. You guys have heard that spiel from me for 2 years. That's how we're doing it. Same thing on the other, if we're using Cooper Kupp, who I think is going to be the most populous captain play, and for good reason. Ridiculous fantasy weapon. And getting tremendous volume against 3 really difficult defenses to break. 4 touchdowns so far in the first 3 weeks of the playoffs. 10 to 15 targets expected in this spot. 100-yard bonus so many times this year. He's been an absolute fantasy monster. And when you factor in the 1.5x, I tend to limit my captain spot to guys that I think can be the highest scoring player on a slate, which means that I tend to have a smaller captain's pool across my 150 lineups than most other people do. I know that there will be people in this who are going to try and outthink it and say, you know what, I'm going to go with Van Jefferson and captain, because if he catches 2 long touchdowns, then he might be the optimal guy. And you're right. If that happens, that's going to be the case. But like, it just doesn't happen all that often, especially looking at the amount of targets that he's gotten over the course of the season and how many 20-point games he's had this year. Just one way back in week 5. And that would only give you 31.5 points at captain. So you'd need to basically go off everywhere else and be perfect to get near the top. So I tend to limit to just the guys that I think can be the highest or second highest scoring player at the captain spot, because that is the easiest path. Every single point matters when it comes to Showdown. So if we're going to have Cooper Kupp at captain, I'm going to make sure that I have Matthew Stafford tied to him. And the same goes on the other side. If you're going to be playing Jamar Chase because you think that he can break loose of this Rams defense, that maybe they're not going to roll cover 2 over the top of him. The Rams do tend to play a little bit more zone than most other teams do in the league, which means that Jamar Chase might struggle to get open deep. It's my personal opinion that T. Higgins is the better play of the 2 of them for this particular matchup. Doesn't mean it's going to end up that way. Jamar Chase is a better receiver than T. Higgins, and maybe they're just going to force the ball to him more often than they have before. I also think that the Rams are going to win this game and that the Bengals are going to be playing from behind. And if they do, that's an even more passing script, which means more potential targets for that team. So if you're going to be playing either one of them in the captain spot, I'm going to be tying Joe Burrow to them as well. Because if Jamar Chase has like a 160-yard game with 2 touchdowns, that means Joe Burrow had at least 160 passing yards and at least 2 touchdowns. So they correlate very well. The one ways that I think people are going to have to try to get different in this one, if you wanted to separate, is the rule that we're going to make later in that Fantasy Labs lineup builder. Go to smizzle.tv/labs, uppercase L, if you want to check out the great tools and content that they have over at Fantasy Labs. And we're going to highlight their builder later in the show. But the easiest way to get different is to tell whatever story you want. I think that everybody is going to be on the Rams. I think the most people are going to be on Cooper Kupp, which means that Stafford's going to be in a lot of those lineups. And I think that the other team the other player that's going to be extremely highly played is the Rams defense, knowing how much pressure they can put on opposing quarterbacks. Now, San Francisco gets rid of the ball really early, and it was difficult for them to log a sack against San Francisco because everything is thrown less than 5 yards. But think about how much duress Jimmy G was in last week, and then think about how many sacks Joe Burrow has taken and how many times he's been hit the last 3 games with already like the 30th ranked offensive line in football, and it being 40% injured based on that first week game against Las Vegas. 9 sacks against Tennessee, was constantly under pressure against Kansas City. He just kind of makes it work. He does what he has to do. If they get him an offensive line this offseason, he's going to be a beast for years to come, and hopefully they can do that. So this is going to be an extremely duped trio. So you're going to have to try and get away from that. The big elephant in the room right now, and I'm going to have to go a little bit in detail about this. I talked with Twitch about this before. Cam Akers did not practice at all last week. Absent for a 3rd straight practice on Friday. And then this is the part that I want you to ignore. Right down here. Sean McVay suggested he expects the running back to play in the Super Bowl against Cincinnati, says Jordan Rodriguez of Athletics Reports. I don't trust Sean McVay as a general rule. It just so happens also that the last time the Rams were in the Super Bowl, they also had a lead running back who was injured, and Sean McVay said the same goddamn thing that time. Todd Gurley is going to see his normal workload in this Super Bowl against the Patriots. I'm not saying that Cam Akers is going to play. I'm not saying that Cam Akers is not going to play. I'm saying that you need to not listen to Sean McVay when it comes to your decision of whether you're going to play Cam Akers or whether you're going to come down a little bit and play Sony Michel. Both of them are big time values, and I'm going to explain why. The Rams, when healthy, when their lead back is healthy, they tend to lean on that lead back and play them 85+% of the running back snaps and give them 85+% of the running back touches. Now, it's true that if we take an overarching view of what Cam Akers has done and what the Rams have done, whether it's on an expected fantasy points per play, whether you want to be as basic as looking at yards per carry, or just efficiency per run, the Rams have not been good this postseason at running the football. They have committed to doing it an awful lot. And last week, Sony Michel outsnapped Cam Akers because he left that game injured. So he played like 58% of the snaps. Whichever one of them is the lead back and healthy, I personally expect to play 85% of the snaps plus and get 85% of the running back touches because that's the way the Rams run their team. If both of them are healthy, you're going to have to make decisions because don't listen to Sean McVay. Nothing he says is going to matter to us because he loves to obfuscate. He is the scorpion riding the turtle across the river, across the white water. The scorpion had to get across to get home, and the turtle's like, I ain't carrying you, you're a scorpion. You're going to sting me, we're both going to die. He's like, no, why would I do that? Because we'd both die if I sting you when we're on the water. Please just give me safe passage across the water, please, Mr. Turtle. They get on the water. The turtle says, fine, that makes sense. I'm going to take you across. The scorpion gets in the middle, and instinct takes over, and he stings him. And as they're sinking, the turtle says, why'd you do that? Now we're both going to die. The scorpion looks at him as they're drowning and says, I'm a scorpion. What else do you expect me to do? Sean McVay is the freaking scorpion. He's going to lie to you. So we need to figure out whether or not Cam Akers or Sony Michel is going to be the lead guy. If they are, I expect them to be much better against Cincinnati, who against the run has not been great this year. The 18th or 19th ranked DVOA defense, as opposed to San Francisco, Tampa Bay, and Arizona, who are all teams that we faded running backs against in fantasy. All three of those teams, top 10 rated DVOA defenses. And this one is a much cushier spot and the game script that I think the Rams are going to be playing from ahead. So I think that one of the better values on the board is whoever is the lead back for the Rams at running back. T. Higgins is my other top value on the board. I believe that a lot of people are going to just click chase because he's the big shiny object. He's amazing. And he is all the flash and all the substance to go along with it. And for years might be one of the best receivers in the NFL in total, but for this particular matchup, T. Higgins is the better play against this Rams defense and comes in at a big discount, both on price and I believe on percentage as well. So that remains to be seen. We're going to have to check the percentages, projections to see where that goes. The other things that we're going to have to be cognizant about. Both tight ends were injured in the last game. Tyler Higbee did not practice late last week. Monitor this injury situation as the week goes on. DraftKings did a great job of pricing up Kendall Blanton, who in his stead, we've said 1,000 times that the NFL is a next man up situation. And when Higbee is out, Kendall Blanton is more than capable of filling in and did so very well against San Francisco with 5 catches on 5 targets for 57 yards and looked awfully spry. So if Higbee can't go, Blanton is priced essentially at the same price in the flex. Higbee is $4,800, Blanton is $4,600. CJ Uzomah also left the last game with an injury and had seen tons of volume before, but the difference in this situation is if Uzomah can't go, Sample's been priced up to $200 less and really is not utilized in this offense as a pass catching tight end. He had that one game last year, and because of anchor bias, everybody thinks that, like, well, he played that one game and had like 9 targets, so we're going to keep going back to Drew Sample. But I don't think that that's the route that we should go. If Uzomah's out and Sample is going to be the starting tight end, I would greatly prefer to go after Tyler Boyd, who of the 3 wide receivers is going to come in at the lowest percentage and is also the lowest price and a great point for salary relief. The 2 players that I think are the better values on the board, first of all, because of how consolidated these offenses are on the main options and how priced up they are, most of it's going to fall in here. But to get a little bit different, there's 2 players that I think are at least a little bit viable. One of them is Bennett Skowronek. He has 1 target in the playoffs, guys. So, like, temper your expectations here. That 1 target was a high value target on a 50-yard touchdown pass in the end zone, right? A deep bomb that, like, he tried to find it, went off of his hands. He didn't catch it. His line would have been ridiculous, and he would have been one of the most played players this week had he caught that ball. But seeing 3 double zeros, a full-on Blutarski in the playoffs with 0.0, 0.0, and 0.0. Ben, fat, drunk, and stupid is no way to go through life, son. Hopefully he can get himself on the board with 1 or 2 catches, and that's all that he's really going to need at 600. The other player that's super cheap, sub-kicker defense priced, would be Samaje Perine, who has Kimbo sliced his way to 6 targets over the last 2 weeks. At this price, though, he's way differently priced than is Skoranek at 2,400 versus 600, so you're going to have to do a little bit more. I'm not really expecting another 41-yard touchdown, but he is not going to play a lot of snaps. Even if they get behind, they still utilize Joe Mixon in the passing game a lot. So you're going to have to mix and match your lineups as is. The one group that you're going to have to make, here's the rules that I make in the Fantasy Labs lineup builder. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 2 of their pass catchers and include the kicker. Pair your captain quarterback with at least 1 of the opposing offensive players. Pair your captain wide receiver with at least 1 quarterback. Pair your tight end with their your captain tight end with at least or with exactly their quarterback, and limit to at most 1 defense and kicker from the same game, because most people overplay defense and kicker. Now, if you wanted to get different and build specific rules to allow 2 kickers in this game, I'm not that against it. It is what it is. But if it's a kicker and defensive game, if this is like a repeat of that Patriots-Rams Super Bowl where it's 6-3, that's just a showdown that I'm not going to win. But your most important group is going to be this one, especially this week. We're going to have to be very mindful of which players are not going to be played by the field. I usually build this with like 5 to 7 players that are going to be under 25% and include at least 1 of them in a lineup. I might make this at least 2 for this showdown to try and get more differentiated lineup combinations without getting stupid. You want to be contrarian, but you don't want to be stupid. So I'm going to build this with at least 1 and possibly at least 2 or exactly 2 players that are projected for under 20% to get the differentiation that I need, because it's not about just coming in first. If you split with like 1,000 to 5,000 people, you're not taking home very much at all. But if you can split with like, 150, 125 people, all of a sudden, with the amount of money that's up top in this tournament, you're bringing home an awful lot of money. And that's how we want to attack. We don't want to just min cash. We want to come in near the top. And sometimes to get there, you're going to have to make plays against the field. So we're going to apply those settings. We're going to head over here. We're going to build our 150 lineups. And hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. And if you did, drop a like, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell. Go to the main page on my profile. I've got 4 other channels now on YouTube for you to ingest all the content throughout the off season. So enjoy, best of luck in the Super Bowl, and go visit Fantasy Labs and go check out all the great products that they have. Look out for another video right there.
He's a legend.